Today on Marae Investigates, the sickening dust storms engulfing the lives of Northland locals every time a truck drives along the region's dusty roads.
It's like about 15, 16 trucks every half an hour.
Then we hop on the Eastern Arterial highway planned for Rotorua.
In 1963, they brought this proposal of the Eastern Arterial to our marae. We said no then, and we are still saying no.
What natural taonga are about to be sacrificed in the name of progress? Plus, our plans to unlock $8 billion of potential Maori freehold land, just another land grab.
E ngā hei tīpona I te ua o te kahuariki tēnā koutou katoa.
Mō kōrī te mihi nau mai anō rā koutou katoa ki a Marae Investigates.
Kei te waihanga petihana ngā kaunihera, ngā rangatira o te hapori me ngā iwi manawhenua o te tai tokerau. Hei tuku mā rātou ki te kāwanatanga e pāna ki ngā huarahi pūehuehu o te rohe e tāpatu nei I te hauora o te Marae.
Locals are becoming more and more angry every time a truck drives along the region's dusty roads. They say if something's not done soon, they'll start putting up roadblocks. Te Himarara Huhi with this story.
I walk along this dusty road.
What area I live in, Pipiwait. 8 kids, yep, 8 kids and 8 mokos. And this is the life we're living.
Ko te nuinga o ngā whānau o te tua whenua o te raki. Kei te rite tonu ki tō hōri, he pakanga rā atu, rā atu.
So how many of these do you get a day?
Get the logging trucks will go up and down here. They've got to do 4 trips a day, and that's about 7, 8 trucks. So that's times that by 4 times a day. They've got to get 4 loads out to the port. And if it was wet today, the dust will be as higher than these trees, than those power poles, bro. That's how bad the dust gets.
He mā nuka nuka tana mahi, pō te ao mo te hauora o tōna whānau.
Especially over the holidays, the trucks were sort of rolling real hard out here, bro, and we could see it was poison for them. They were starting to get sore throats, and my kids, when they were going to school, they were getting dusted out, and then go to school, dusted out, and then stay in your clothes all day, dusted out, and then go home and then get the same thing, dusted out. You have a bath, you got to go, get up in the morning, same routine. You can taste it. You know, if a big truck was to drive past you and it was a big brown cloud, because you got to breathe, you're going to suck it up. This is what goes into our water.
Engari kaore mutu I kona, ko tā rātou wai inu hoki.
This is what goes into our tank. This is what we're drinking. This is the paru that comes from the road. Would you drink the water that's got that in it?
E kore rawa. Me te aha hoki kei muri te rārangi kākahu I tōna whare. Engari kauwhia tonutia ki te puehu.
That's it, bro. All this dust gets dusted out,
Yep.
and when it gets dusted out on the dry, you got to rewash them again, bro. That's another thing we're stuck with. You get the washing. It's like inside the house. We got to keep our windows locked, bro, because the dust will come over like a big cloud, and then you got to wipe your TV down. You got to wipe your stereo down. You got to wipe all your benches down. We're actually bound to time frames with whatever we do, you know, with the dust in that, with having to shut the windows and keep the dust from on the inside of the house. We're actually bound to time frames.
E hara I te mea ko ia anake, he take nui tēnei kei mua I te aroro o te hapori, ngā hapu, me ngā iwi katoa.
Some one of the houses that are getting dusted out, and it's already been proven that it's poison and it's affecting newborn babies and it's affecting your health and everything. And I'm one of those fellas that stop the trucks out the front and says, hey, slow down. So Hancock slowed them down for us. But it doesn't stop the dust. It doesn't stop the dust. the piro in our whānau, in our mokopunas.
Hei tā te hau kainga o konei o pipi wai e hara mā rātou, hei tā ngā kaunihera katoa e hara hoki mā rātou, nā reira mā wai te puehu nui nei e whakatau.
Well, it's a local government issue, but the problem is local government's short of money, and the central government has made it very clear that none of the road user charges or road collection taxes will be used or be given over by central government. So you've got a political logjam here, and the central government has to help out.
Well, the road user charges should be spent where that road user charges are earned, and I'm a great supporter of that, and I really hope, I'd like to see the government get onto that, but at the moment they're just gathering into one pool and spending it where they see fit, and they're putting on roads of national significance into the big cities. It's a political decision, and it's their political decision.
Forestry is important to the region, it's important to the forestry owners, it's important as an industry across Northland. And so we don't want to stop that. So to enable it to carry on and not have these people penalised, I'm prepared to go down with a group of fellow leaders and fight to have another go to get some funding to address this. Now, will I be successful? I don't know.
Engari mō hōri, kua oti te wā papakingutu. O te mahi nānei, he mahi tētahi mahi.
There's a lot of money coming out of this valley, all these pine trees, and a lot of money being coming out of this valley. Someone's getting rich, and we're getting a bit sicker. So, you know, spend a bit of their money over here and awhi us to get this road sorted out, because the next step is the step that my relation is talking about, putting the tractor in the middle of the road and stopping them altogether. If the council, because we've had plenty of meetings and that, they don't come to the party, hey, that's our next step, make things happen with action.
E hara I te mea ko te puehu ana ke te mea e whakararuraru ana. Engari ka tau mai te ua, ka paruparu noa ngā huarahi nei, me te aha ko ngā rua e whakapua kina ana I ngā traka nui nei, kaki ki te wai.
The road turns to slosh and potholes.
So it's not a relief.
There's no relief. There's no relief because at the end of the day, the road has gone from dusty to muddy.
Well, yes, from dusty to muddy indeed. Joining me now from our Hamilton studio is the Freight Portfolio Manager for the New Zealand Transport Agency, or NZTA, Harry Wilson. Kia ora, Harry, and thank you for joining us.
Kia ora, Scotty.
Now, there's some serious problems in Pipiwai and throughout Northland's rural roads, including major health concerns, as we just saw in that track. What's NZTA doing about all this?
Look, the answer isn't just more money here. There's an issue we've all got to sit down together, local government, ourselves, the industry, the members of the community, and see what we can all do together. Now, I did the maths on this. Northland gets $155 million from fuel excise duty and road user charges. Actually, the argument about putting the road user charges back to the area would actually result in less money going into the area, so that's not it. So it's about what is the best way of spending what we've got. 1 kilometre of sealed road costs $300,000. 53% of the roads in all of Northland are unsealed. So I worked out that for the same amount of money, 155 million, you'd be able to seal 56 kilometres of the unsealed network now. So whichever way you look at it, there isn't enough money to go round.
It's interesting that you're talking money because local and regional councils say they don't have the money to solve the community's dusty rural roads problem. So does NZTA have it, or is this a central government issue? Who's got the money? Who needs to front up for this?
As I said, I don't think the answer is in the money. And the 53% of the network is unsealed road. The same amount of money that's going in there right now would only do 56 kilometres. There are hundreds of kilometres of unsealed road. You've had a really bad summer on the back of a very bad winter, so you had that double effect where the rain destabilised some of the road, and then you also had a strong hot summer that meant that the combination meant a lot more dust than you would normally get.
But is this really good enough for these families? Is this really good enough for these families who are suffering health problems because of all this dust? That we say it's just because of a long summer?
Of course it's not. Look, I grew up in a little rural town of Turakina in Wanganui. I grew up on an unsealed road. I know what this is like. I have absolute sympathy for them, but there's no the problem is there's not an easy answer.
Harry, let's move to Rotorua now, because you're also the Regional Director for the NZTA in the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty, and you're involved in the Rotorua Eastern Arterial. What's your take on the reaction from the local hapu and community to this new road from the Rotorua Airport to Sala Street?
Well, mixed. So if you're in the community and you drive down Tanai Road, you'd be saying, thank goodness, something is just finally going to be done about the congestion or the congestion that's going to come. On Tanai Road, which is the present road, Scotty, I understand you lived in Rotorua, so you know this one. You know, there's schools, there's shops, people are concerned about the safety, getting across the road, going to school and so forth. So if you're in the community and you're living in that area, you'd be saying, thank goodness someone is finally doing something about it. If you're the property owner or affected by where the new route is going to go, then obviously you are really concerned. What does that mean for me? What does it mean for my property? What does it mean for my land and the area that I live?
And what are the plans? What are the plans for those whānau and those people who live in those areas who are going to be really affected by this new road?
Okay, so what we did is we spent 2 years talking with that community. We went through actually 3 options. So we said, you know, is it viable to do work to upgrade Tanai Road? We looked at the connection with Vaughan Road, and then we looked at the land that had been designated in 1963, the original designation, which is on that bare land lakeside between the airport and Sala Street, and said, is that, which of those is the best option? And we came up with the old designation with some changes to it, which is what we call an alteration to designation.
Harry, I understand that hapu members walked out of one of the consultation hui, and this is a hapu who have given land for the public interest in Rotorua, and are now being told that the little pieces they have will be taken for the road. Were you at these discussions? Were you part of those discussions when this hapu walked out?
Yeah, I led it. This is a sign of respect and courtesy. Later that day I was going to be talking to the Rotorua Council, and we'd be going door knocking, and I wanted to talk to those people who are going to be directly affected by it first. That is, I owed them that courtesy to let them know before they read about it in the newspaper. That would have just been utterly disrespectful. So I was not surprised by that reaction at all. In fact, it's what I expected. In fact, often those things are not as civil as simply just walking out. But again, the take I got from that meeting was people actually, though they were angry and upset, they were glad to have the certainty to know, because when you're talking about general options, about it might be this one, it might be that or the other, they focus on the whole length of it. So now that we've got to the stage where we said this is the one that we are looking at, they now start looking at my property or their bit of land and say, what does this mean for me? Because it's been abstract in the past. And there's time, you know, so we're not rushing out tomorrow to buy property, to start building. We're not planning on building the road for another 10, 15 years.
What about some of these irreplaceable taonga, Harry? Some of the irreplaceable taonga that will be lost, like the cooking pools, the hot pools around that area that are going to be lost because of this road going through. What about some of those? These are irreplaceable things. We can't get them back once we destroy them.
Well, we did 2 things during the consultation. One, we did a cultural impact assessment, so we got a good feel for what were those things that were most important. And so as we designed the designation, we tried to minimise the impact on those areas that were most important. Equally, we actually own land that has significant urapa that won't be needed by this designation that we want to be able to swap as mitigation and so forth. Some of the designation that was designated in 1963, we're actually going to be giving back. So, you know, on balance, some of the things we're giving back are as significant as some of the things that will change.
And so how's the relationship? How's the relationship between NZTA and the locals and the local hapu at this point?
I'd say tense, but we want the conversation to continue. Look, and there are people who are putting their hands up to say, look, we want to talk with you and we can work this thing through. So yeah, it's a natural reaction, and we've got time. We're not in a rush. We'll sit down and work with people.
Harry Wilson, New Zealand Transport Agency, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Scotty, my pleasure.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Kia ora.
So when new roads are required, the government, the local council and town planners usually aim to put roads through undeveloped land. But what if the owners have kept the land undeveloped because for them the land has value that can't be measured in dollars? As Ngahuia Wayne discovers, this clash of values is resulting in more Maori land being taken
for more roads.
Why the need for new roads? Traffic congestion, urban development, town planning, bigger populations, and essentially more vehicles. So we're going to take you down the proposed new arterial route in Rotorua just to see what's in its path. Hara mai.
House has been here since 1947. My parents were given permission by my kraua, Witariana Hona, to build their whare here. And I was only 6 years old then, and now I'm 72 years old. So I've still got plenty memories of them still being here. This land is all papakainga. Now I'm very sad. In those days, the old days, where they built everything and they treasured their whare, and I thought, well, that's why, you know, we're hanging on to our whare, even though it might be old, but it's our whare, ours, and nobody can take the memories we have of it.
My daily ritual is I start with the bath in here and I talk to my tupuna. And this is my half an hour I spend down here, building myself up for the day ahead of me. Our favourite kai that we used to have for breakfast every morning that our nannies used to cook for us was a bread that she would cook in a nafa. And that bread was called tā moi moi. With this road coming up, we will never be able to do that again. Hurungaturangi, our iwi, has gifted heaps of land for the betterment of Rotorua. Half of Rotorua is owned by us. And what is left is just a small portion, and they want that as well. What is going to happen to us as a people?
We're going to fight for it. We're going to fight for our land. We're going to fight for our rights. This whenua and papakainga were handed down by my great-grandparents, Bully and Kahike. Everybody around here knew them, and they handed it to my father, who had intentions of handing it to us. We won't see this anymore. We won't see Mount Nongataha and the sunset that sets just over it. So what are we left with? We live in a rural area. It's going to change. It's going to be highway through here. It's going to be a big highway. And all our bird life, we've got pūkeko, we've got hawks. It's going to be all gone, our tui in the morning. This is going to be taken over by the noise and the pollution. And, oh, I can't understand it.
Anei rā, tōku pai maunga a whakapunga. Te tapu wai o a pātani. Ki ta take rā, a wai ngai he, ta wai u, te wai I whakarere atu. Tōku nei waka hi hoi atu ki mokoia. Ka ke atu rā I te tihi rā a tama whakaaikai. Ruku hia te wai anō. Hei kauri atu ki o tēnei hai I whakahahaingia tōku tinana. Anai rātau maha. Tēnei hoki te paru ai I wā tātou nei tamariki mokopuna. Anei wā rā tātou nei tauira ki tēnei taha o te wāhi I whakarere ai ngā rererangi I whakatāhaingia I wā tātou nei ana te ture hei o ua nuku kōpako. Nō reira tēnei rā ana hoki te mihi ati ki a koutou. Anei au e tuākene e whakamihi ati ki a koutou. Kāti tēnei, te tangihia, te hai o tōku whenua e. Kia ora tātou.
E toru ngā iwi ka raru I te huarahi hō ka whakatūria ki te rāwhiti o Rotorua. Arā ko hurunga te rangi, te roro o te rangi me Ngāti Uenuku kōpako. Kei te hui rātau I te rātonu nei ki runga I te marae o hurunga te rangi I te kotahi karaka, ki te whakarite rautaki I te taha o te hapori, hei turaki I te whakaaro kia murua he whenua mō tēnei huarahi hō. Nō reira e ao wana kia whera tonu tātou I tēnei take e pāna ki ngā whenua Māori, a neira a Miriama Rawa ko tana manuhiri no te manatu ahumahi.
Thanks, Scotty. A new report commissioned by the Ministry for Primary Industries has shown the potential held in more than 1 million hectares of Maori freehold land could be worth $8 billion. Well, joining me now in studio is the Deputy Director General for Maori Primary Sector Partnerships for the Ministry, Ben Dalton. Thanks for joining us this morning. $8 billion is an impressive figure, but what's the vision? How would this work?
Well, first of all, I should clarify what the study outlined. It made some basic assumptions that there was 900,000 hectares of Māori land suitable for conversion or utilisation for beef and lamb production and 60,000 hectares for dairy. The report doesn't recommend you use that for that particular, that means of production, but it just takes a look at if you were to do that, the best case scenario is $8 billion in increased output over 10 years and $3 billion additional GDP to the country across that time
So what
period.
would that mean in real terms? We're talking about job creation and...
Again, based on the assumptions in the report, it estimated that you'd get the creation of an additional 3,300 jobs, on-farm jobs.
Why would Māori landowners trust this report? I mean, because of course there will be some suspicion of this, and we posed the question at the very beginning of the program, this could be another land grab.
First of all, we're not recommending that people convert their land to that means of production. What the real value in the report is indicating the untapped potential in Māori land. So what the real issue here is for Māori to be able to identify what is the best usage of their land, whether that's, as some of the earlier articles outlined, that land may have a higher value being left in for environmental reasons, then if Māori can have access to the best information to be able to decide what is the best use for their land.
So this is really about saying, here are some options, just options for you to consider for the best use of your land.
That's correct.
So is one of those options just, hey, sit on it?
I've found you've got two types, the report deals with two types of land. One is land that is already in production, and there are some really great examples of Māori agricultural entities leading in their particular sectors like miraka, and then there's also a lot of Māori land that is not incorporated or not being managed in any effective manner. And so really the harder effort is to how do you get the land that isn't being utilised, how do you get those owners to have access to the appropriate information to be able to make decisions around what they could or couldn't do with that land.
Then beyond that you have the problems of this land is so often owned by multiple owners, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you make that process easier?
Currently the Associate Minister of Māori Affairs, Minister Finlayson, and supported by Minister Sharples, are doing a review of the Māori land legislation with the primary goal of being able to make it easier for the owners to make decisions.
Because it's been, I mean, this is not a new discussion that we're having, and this is the problem that comes up all the time, isn't it? Trying to find ways to get consensus among multiple owners. And I guess what everyone wants to know at the end of the day is what is the benefit to me?
The benefit at the moment, a lot of that land that is not being utilised, and I noticed this week an iwi leader from the north said that by default much of Māori land is part of the conservation estate, and perhaps we want to leave it that way. I think that if that's what the owners want to do, then they should be allowed to do that, but they should only make that decision after they've had access to all the information that allows them to decide what other options there are. And I tend to believe that a large amount of that land is only in default conservation estate because the owners can't think of what else to do with it.
So this is a way of providing a plan and a way forward. Okay, thank you for your time. Ben Dalton, back to you.
Yes, let's get some thoughts now from our regular commentator, Willie Jackson. Willie, Ben's pointed out the untapped potential in Māori land. So what should Māori landowners be thinking about in terms of the best use of their land?
Well, see, they can't... The thing is, Ben's got a very tough position, right? In fact, I admire what he's doing. He's trying to point out, look, here's the huge potential to our people. The problem Ben's got is our people hate him. Well, they don't actually hate him, but they hate who he represents.
Why do they hate him?
Well, because history tells us that our land's just been taken. Right, just been taken. We've just been moved off the land. So you saw that queer and the people down there. They just want to sit in their whare. So poor old Ben's got to come in and say, hey, there's huge potential here. I think he's doing the right thing, but it's the process he takes going forward. How does he involve the people? How does he point out the economic benefits? How does he say to them, you can still have your you can have a part here, but the potential could be great for your kids, for your mokopunas. And so he's doing what he should do, but what he's got to almost guarantee is that our people are not going to get ripped off. That's as simple as that, as they have been in the past.
That is going to be very difficult, especially when there's a lot of land being taken at this very point in time, as we've pointed out today, for new roads. But this is not only going to affect Māori land as we go into the future, isn't it?
But it's going to affect everyone. But here's the problem. We're the ones who've been hammered by the Crown through the years. So that's why people like Ben Dalton are really important. Peter Sharples plays a vital role here, but it's very much in a trust role. Our people will be, and Ben has to win the trust of the people. Very hard, of course, for Ngāpuhi going down to Te Aroha, but
depends how he delivers the message.
Yeah, but I think they're doing the right thing, but they've got to tread carefully here because our people don't want to lose their things. Just like in terms of this Māori option.
Yes, well, let's talk about the Māori electoral roll. What should Māori voters do?
I hope you're on the Māori roll.
I'm on the Māori roll.
No, Māori should go on the Māori roll. If you're Māori, go on the Māori roll. Don't go on the general roll.
Is there anyone for us to vote for? Some of our candidates aren't doing that well at the moment.
They're fighting, they're arguing, are they, Scotty? Well, see, Pākehā politicians argued too. Yes, they're all fighting, and that's what people will say, waste the time going on the Māori roll. If you're Māori, go on the Māori roll. You've got a real option there, and you can vote for anyone, Māori Party, Mana Party, whatever, because if we don't, we could lose these seats. We've got a chance of an extra seat. And that'd be great if we had an extra seat out in South Auckland, down in the South Island. Be fantastic.
Well, you could go into the extra seat in South Auckland.
Well, you could think about it down in Wairiki, you and Annette Sykes, maybe.
Yes, well, that'll be interesting working with that.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Willie. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe.
Yes, I'm on the Māori roll too. So that is our show for today. Stay tuned for Wakahuia, who profiled Dover Samuels. Kia tau ngā manaakitanga.
Ai, ngā mihi nui ki a koutou, e mātakitaki mai nā nohora mai I roto I ngā tūporetanga o te wā.
Him